All right, we're going to cover the Nasdaq 100 and the SP 500 as we get into these charts. We're going to talk about exactly what is happening right now. Now, as we get in here, I want to address where we have been trading for basically the past 4 days and why I believe we have some monstrous moving coming very soon, specifically on these charts. As we jump in here, this white zone, I want you to really focus on here for a second. Now, we're going to come back to this chart, but follow where we are right now. If you've been following on Twitter, the link is down below. I'm going to actually go to Twitter here in a second. But if you follow, you can actually see where we've been trading. In between this range of basically 11.25 down to lows, which are your previous June lows at 11.06. The upper range, which I believe is most likely the high potential, if we start to pump up at any sort of way, is around the 11.5 to 11.55 region. We just haven't even had that test yet, but that's the main area that I am watching. As we get back into the 15-minute triad dimension, I want to highlight what's happened here. And I believe this is a trap that most traders are falling for right now. If we go back to roughly October 17th, basically since market open till right now, all of the price action has been in this range, basically ranging from 11.2 to 11.6, which is basically 140 points of price action on the Nasdaq 100. And this is accounting for during market hours, not external hours, after hours, pre-market, nothing like that. Most of this action up here, breaking out or breaking below, is during those hours. Now, we had a little bit of action this morning pushing us to these highs. We saw very minimal buying and then quickly pushing us back here in the range. So what am I saying here? Am I saying don't trade? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you need to recognize where we are pinning right now. It's clear that price action is wanting us to be in this area, and any start or any chance that the bulls have to push us out of this area quickly has been rejected, specifically to the point of the US markets. Now, before we go into any more content, I have to ask and let you consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day I post videos for you, so you're already on the market and you never are taken by surprise with anything that's happening, specifically with today. If you were here, I let everyone know yesterday, tomorrow, Snapchat coming out, earnings, probably some of the biggest on the week. Why? Because it shows the strength of the consumer and it shows the strength of ad spend. Why did Snapchat just start to drop? Look, Snap plunges 21% on slowest quarterly sales growth on record. What does that mean? It means the overall ad revenue market is taking a hit. This is what I was talking about yesterday, and I said it would flow directly into a few stocks. One, Google getting slapped already, almost down $2, a little bit over. Meta, the big one, Meta already pushing down to new 52-week lows. You were about a $2 range from there, really already down 5%. We go to Snapchat, the icing on the cake. Guess what? You're already down 22% in the after hours, establishing new 52-week lows once again. And this is setting the tone. This is what I was trying to warn people up, is the tone that would be set. So if I'm looking at the market and what I was, the basic viewpoint of yesterday's video, really going over this, what was the thesis? What was the statement? What was the cause for concern for everyone? It was just prepare yourself and give yourself time on positions, right? Because we know when we get these pushes up, our broad viewpoint is still very bearish. We're going to go into those fundamentals and technicals here in a second, but it just continues to prove we continue to get rejected, and we are now still making lower highs, okay? Lower highs. You're still doing it. And now it looks like we're going to continue the trend of making lower lows, probably starting to push back down. This is what I'm looking at. And again, the chart continues to tell us the same thing continually and give us the same setup and same signals that we had previously. Okay. Now, before we go too far ahead, I want to give you my overall target so we don't have to, you don't have to beat around, look for these specific areas. Going into tomorrow, with these earnings, I'm anticipating a pretty quick test of 11.8 to 11.75 into Friday. And I know I usually hate giving overall targets, one day out or anything like that, but I have to right now. I think it's very likely. You have a smaller demand in this range as well, roughly to like 11.09. I just don't, or 109. I just don't like that one that much. This is the one that I'm really watching. On the 2 hour, on the 1 hour, you can see this is respected and it's definitely there. So I like this area a lot. I think it will be tested in a hurry tomorrow. If we look at what's happening right now out of these earnings into after hours close, you're getting a bear flag right here on the Nasdaq as well. And I think weakness will be established here. Going over to ES, looking at S&P futures, I think the answer is even a little bit more clear. If you caught me during my live, if you are on the channel and have your notifications turned on, I'm live. I don't want to say every day, but I try to go live 3 out of 5 trading days during the week around lunchtime and go over the market, things I'm looking at and different opportunities, right? That's what I like to talk about in there specifically. Now, if we look at what's happening here, I want to address where you are and how you're behaving. A key area to watch on the day in previous days has been 3,700. Again, you push below this area, then you push back above, and it's been holding very well. Well, you broke through today, and you haven't really looked back. And again, you have that bear flag forming there as well. If we're looking at targets here on ES, S&P futures, in my opinion, it has to be down here around 3620 down to 36 flat. That is my area to test. Now going over to SPY, giving you a relatable answer because I know a lot of you trade SPY. If I'm looking here, it's going to be around this area right here. It can come in quick, mark this box out for you. And boom, roughly this area right there on 359, 357. Again, I hate giving out targets, but this is just where I'm looking at us to go tomorrow. I don't see you really slowing down. I see a wick at least at some point coming to that area. Again, don't shoot the messenger, just my viewpoint. It is also very important. Next week, we will have earnings as well. We'll have Apple, I believe, and Meta, which will be Facebook. So we'll have some more earnings coming out. So don't think that the earnings season is just over. It's really just getting started. But this week is setting the tone, right? I want everyone to know that. Everyone be prepared because that's what I'm looking at right now, specifically on the market. Now, we go look at some of the big signals, big things that we've been watching on a broad scale market. Looking at SPY. I want to jump in here really quick. Actually, we'll start with Qs, then go SPY. Go to premium, bring up the biggest premiums near the top. That's all we care about. On the top, we have, it's not that big. We saw a lot of the bigger orders coming in the past 2 days, which again, were positioning themselves on the market. And again, if you've been here on the channel, then you saw all those orders being stacked in. And guess what? We were still near local tops when those orders were still all coming in. So you have the opportunity, if you've been here on the channel, paying attention, watching these signals, and again, doing your own DD as well. So as we get in here, I want to show you the SPY as well. Again, a little bit more, but again, this isn't as decisive as what we've seen over the past, in my opinion, 2 days. We saw Qs, a lot of put positions on Tuesday, and SPY was yesterday with a lot of put positions being established there. Big cause for concern, and now we're seeing the kind of slowdown. And the big money was establishing those positions already. As we go over to Bookmap as well, looking at the overall volume on the day. I want to talk about this here in a second, but if we look at the overall behavior of what was happening during the day, it was heavily in the short side of the market. Now, I want to address something really clearly. Yes, you're getting hammered, just short selling across the board. Till the very end of the day, we have some buying. This could have been hedging, food for thought. Typically, if it's the other way around, I'd be pretty bearish about this, but this was interesting behavior right here. It could have been someone going into earnings and overall just settling their position and just getting prepared for the market and not wanting to be too overextended. That is, I can't really give my opinion there. But in bulk, a majority of the volume on the day was towards that downside. In comparison, again, it's worth mentioning that was a very large order here at the end of the day. Now, I want to start talking about some of the big implications that are happening across the world and that are really affecting us because earnings matter. They're very important. Basically, if you do not know what's happening with her resigning is because she's stepping down because over the past 45 days, the UK economy has absolutely fallen to shambles. Now, you can blame this on Boris Johnson. You can blame this on previous things that have happened, but basically her plan just is going awful. The tax cuts aren't working. British Parliament is in shambles, and the whole economic thesis of what she was trying to do with the market utterly failed. She took a step back. She quit office in the end. Now, we saw in the beginning of the market, this did affect us. We did get pushed down a little bit, and then obviously we pushed back up. Okay, so I want to make this really clear. The fundamental viewpoint of what's happening with the US dollar, with our economy, with all economies surrounding us as well, are still looking awful. So this strengthens our bear thesis overall and continues to strengthen this. Number two, we need to understand that though those fundamentals are strengthening, we need to look at what's, again, going to be behind the curtain moving these right now. It's going to be earnings. We have to continue to watch these earnings. Now, what am I doing? I told everyone yesterday, I'm starting to build my longer term short position, right? As we get to these highs, I add more and I just slowly get in that position. I'm not going to overextend or anything like that because I want people to realize something with the market specifically when you're playing the downside. I think people look at the market every day sometimes and they think I need to make X amount of dollars or I'm not going to make any money. I believe that is a quote unquote true statement that you have to trade to make money. Of course you do. But I want you to realize something on the grand scheme of things as we go to the daily chart really quickly. If we look at the broad scheme of the market over the past 12, take it even 20 years back to 2000, the grand scheme of the way that we move is generally to the upside, okay? For a majority, it's to the upside. This is not a Snapchat chart. This is not an Apple chart, right? The chart is not necessarily going to go negative, okay? We don't expect it to happen. And all these pullbacks do come towards an end. Now, am I saying that end is near right now? No. But the goal during these times is not necessarily to print, endless amount of money, although that is a great thing to do and to win trades. The goal is to survive for myself. That is my goal when I'm trading like this. It's to survive and slowly build the account so I can take advantage of the long-term growth of the market, because that's where, in my opinion, the millionaires and the real winners are made. It's not getting overcomplicated and running in and taking a million trades a day. It's finding the trend, establishing the trend, making profits on that trend, but ultimately positioning yourself into longer term stocks. And I want to make sure I'm really clear with this, because sometimes people take the channel with too much. It has to happen today, tomorrow, etc. Even though I think the market's going to get hit tomorrow, I'm not betting my entire account on the downside. Why? Because I have to recognize things can happen that are opposite to my thinking. Surprises can happen. Anything can happen overnight as well, right? So I don't want people to understand that thesis of it. The goal is the long term. The goal is not the short term money making thesis of 20, 50% a day. That's unrealistic. If I could do that, I would be on Wall Street and be a multi-billionaire, and I would not be here on YouTube with you, right? I like to share my viewpoint, share my thesis, and share my overall plan and goals. And that's what it is right now. It's to, yes, make money during this market, but it's also, above all else, to survive this market, not just give my money away. So if I have to take 1-2 trades a week sometimes, that's what it may be, setting myself up for success in the long run. Because what happens when you get back into a market like this, back from 2020 to 2022 right here, guess what happened? You will make money on the market. You can almost throw your money into almost anything and print. It is what it is. If you go back before this, 2018, 2020, if you go back through this from 2014, 15, 13, whatever, 2012, all the way through 2018, if you put your money in the market, chances are you were making money, okay? So I want people to understand that, yes, you can make money doing this. And we have been making pretty successful chunks of change here and there here on the channel, right? But I want people to understand the goal is the long-term surviving, thriving in this market, because this is where you're going to make a lot of your money. This is where you start to print, and the days are very easy. This is survival. This is a pullback. This is temporary, in my opinion. Now, temporary being 1 to 2 years, that's to be decided, the length of this, okay? So I want that to be understood. So yes, although, I am very bearish into tomorrow, into the next day, and probably the rest of earnings, I'm not looking to send home runs every day and go all in, because I just want to make sure, and I feel a responsibility to you and to my subscriber base to be honest with y'all at all points and to really try to bring y'all back to the core of why we're trading, what we're doing, and the ultimate goal here on the channel, right? I want to make sure everyone here is on the same page. It is not just about getting clicks, getting views here. It is about helping you, and every single time you come back to the channel, I want you to actually get something out of it. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And if we look here, I want to do a little bit more deep dive into the Nasdaq. I believe you're coming into a volume shelf, if you will. I believe you're going to have a quick little tumble down as well. You already have a little bit there. We come back even further to the 4-hour. I want to show you on the VPVR. You can greatly see that there's issues here. There's definitely issues. And when we come back down, and if we do start getting really knocked down from these earnings, you're going to start seeing, in my opinion, some actual pain here. Once you start getting below this 10.5, 10.6 area, I think it can get really nasty down. Remember, the goal, the target is still pre-COVID highs, minimum. That is our minimum target. So we still have lots of downside room to see here. Okay, I want people to know that. That's the goal. That's at least what we want to see. If we start getting below that, we can talk. There will be problems if we get below that, but that's what we're looking at right now. And if you look at how we're forming on these longer time frames, like I was talking about yesterday, you're still sitting here, but guess what? You're making lower highs, lower lows. You're bear flagging. It's setting up for continuation, right? And I want to highlight, we started seeing some downside here today, right? This is the daily chart, right? The really bearish candle here. I want to point something out here. Today's beginning behavior, today's beginning volume, if you followed, was disgusting. If you were in my live earlier, my live stream. Guess what? Your volume was abysmal. You stepped up. But where did that volume step up? To the sell side. So you're seeing volume start to begin to rise. You are seeing a little bit of a rise. Definitely turning the corner here. I'm not saying you're necessarily going to start falling immediately. I do see downside pretty quick coming based on that as well. However, I want people to know you're starting to see that volume rise on decline on the market, not on it rising. When you were rising, it was declining. When you started to drop, now it's rising. We need to view this. We need to be prepared for what's happening here. I want everyone to just understand what's coming on and what is being affected on the market based on this volume as well. Now, again, if you start to get below this white area, I got to be very clear as well. This is the big area we've been watching. Getting below June lows, 1106, where you're sitting at right now. It's going to get nasty, okay? You need to watch to see if you come back to this area. So hypothetically, I want to be really clear here, okay? What we're looking for, if you're following this, if you break below, you come back and test, and you reject, you are very bearish. And coincidentally, this would be the time to look for a trade right here on that retest. You might get it overnight. I don't know. You got to watch out. I can't tell you when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. But ultimately, that's what we're looking for, a break and a retest of this area, and then a push down to the target of 11.5, 11.6 possibly. You do have a little bit of a support here as well at roughly 10.7. I've been watching for that first. That's where I'm looking for any of my short-term positions, so be prepared for that as well. Again, I do want to recommend that everyone, if you're not, even if you're not in Discord, I was telling people in the live as well, I'm trying to get you guys prepared and offer as much free information as possible. So make sure you're on Twitter so you get the updates when I'm live. Any charts I'm liking, I try to answer you guys as well. But I'm trying to get more content for all of you as well. Also, too, I'll be giving away another free spot to Discord for any comment on this video. See you all tomorrow.